and specifically, welcome to those of you who try to keep a habit tracker but fail miserably. Welcome. You are in the right place. I would also like to extend a special welcome to those of you who would rather slither on your hands and knees off your bed or the couch in order to get something instead of just getting up and getting it. Everybody is welcome, especially those of you who are looking for a long video to put on while you do laundry or rest, walk the dog, make yourself a little snack, whatever it is that you find yourself doing on this fine day or evening. Okay, what's going on here? Well, I'm hoping that we can answer some questions together, you and me. Some of these are quite fun, but I have many questions to answer. The first one that I do hope other people answer is about zodiac signs. Now, there's going to be many questions. I've grouped them all into themes, but this is just like the little starter question. Somebody asked, what are your thoughts on astrology? And what is your star sign? Do you feel it suits you and that the traits are accurate? So first, I would like to ask you what your star sign is. What's your astrological sign? I will say I get along with most people, with everybody pretty much. But I love a Scorpio. I get on very well with Scorpios. Some of my best friends in the world have been Scorpios. I love the chaos. I like the energy, which maybe gives you a hint about my zodiac sign. I'm an Aries, so I'm a fire sign. I'm an Aries sun, a Virgo moon, and a Leo rising. I was born on March 25th. I shouldn't say that on the internet. If you steal my credit card, if you try to steal my identity, you will face my fire sign wrath. I do wonder what your zodiac sign is. I do feel a lot of people in the comments are quite intelligent in an air sign way. I wonder. I'm curious. Some very poetic. But I love astrology because I grew up as an adolescent taking online quizzes, and I like quizzes, and I like anything that categorizes personality types broadly. Philosophically, I should not be okay with that. I should not be okay with it, and yet it's deeply satisfying. I feel like a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter when I collect, INTJ, ENFP or whatever, your Enneagram, astrology. Although I do feel that astrology is elevated over the rest. So, my thoughts on astrology is I am a huge fan, and I love to hear what other people are, and if they identify. So we got the most burning question out of the way. Now I think it's time to break things up into categories. Somebody did ask, actually got many questions about questions. Very meta, very brainy. Like how many questions I received and how many I'm answering. The answer is I've got something like 91 submissions. Some of those contain multiple questions. And I'm answering all of them. Are there any questions that you've chosen not to respond to? Somebody asked. No. I'll answer anything. It's horrible. What question has intrigued or surprised you the most? I got a lot of questions about sexuality and queerness And that surprised me, and I'm very happy that people want to talk about this. So I will be going very deep into these topics, and I will talk about sexuality in a very honest and personal way, but in a way that I hope is generous to everybody. And then how do you feel about the questions you've received through your first Q&A? The answer is that I loved them, and I feel so honored that anybody would ask me a question or want to talk to me on the internet. That feels like such an honor, so I'm very excited. So thank you for the questions, about the questions. Now let's kind of melt and relax and flow into the rest of the questions. The way that I've structured it is by category. Also, speaking of surprise, I was surprised that so many people wanted to know about my tattoos. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the video with a look at my tattoos. I'm going to show you them, and I'm going to kind of trace them with a pencil, and I'm going to talk about what they mean. And I have many on other parts of my body I cannot show you. I can only, I've got one right there. I can't show you that. It's like right here. But I'll tell you what it is. Maybe in the 10K special, we will travel to other parts in my leg. My right leg is covered in my own work because I tattooed myself. But after that, everything is of course time stamped. But after that, we're going to move on to the very personal section, which I look forward to. Then we're going to move on to the sexuality and gender questions. We're going to talk about queerness and lesbianism. And then I'm going to move on to the kind of mental life. So movies, music, books, pop culture. And then to the academic, philosophical questions. And then finally to the fun, random questions, which I like to end on because they're just very exciting and interesting. Some people submitted multiple questions that I broke up to put them in different categories. So sometimes that's going to happen. And then some people submitted not questions, but poems, quotes, anecdotes, or jokes. I have read them all, and I thank you for them. They're not in the video, but I thank you for them. I like getting stuff in my inbox. Okay. I think it is time. Let's go slow. Let's go through each section, and we're gonna start with the tattoos. Okay. So, I got asked if you're comfortable with it, could you please show and tell about your tattoos? Someone else said, can we have a tattoo tour? And then somebody says, I love your hand tattoos, and I've seen you have a few others too. Would you be comfortable with talking more about them and maybe doing some tattoo tracing? And then someone else says, are you itching for a new tattoo, and what design would you go for? So let's talk about the tattoos. Let's talk about that. Yeah, muscles. Okay. So I'm going to show you the ones on my arms. Yeah, because they're all related to each other. I'm also going to show you the one on my neck. Can you see the one on my neck? So these tattoos are all from a section of a book. The book is Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. And the passage is on the three metamorphoses, or the three metamorphoses. Depends on the translation. But the story is essentially about self-transformation. It is a metaphor. So the three stages are the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel, the lion, and the child. The camel, I got literally as a camel going out into the desert. I absolutely adore this. I don't mind it when people think it's the cigarette tattoo, because I think that's kind of funny. But the camel, as far as a metaphor of your personal growth, of course it's about perseverance, and it's about taking on a burden and going out into the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. I specifically requested a sun. So this is a sun, but it almost looks like an epiphany. It looks like a soul or an idea. And then I wanted stars. Because you go out into this ambiguous space of day and night. You're going out into the elements when you go out in the world. This is about doing things that scare you, and about taking on hardship willingly, so that you can transform and grow stronger. You go stronger. You grow so much stronger through hardship. represents the child because it's a symbol of growth and of multiple generations coming from a binary. So this whole thing is a bit of a non-dualist tattoo. It's about how everything is connected, and even a reality that looks bureaucratic and elemental, this thing and that thing, all comes together to produce this one reality, this one whole. And I find that freeing. It's that space that I get to really play and be in. So it makes all the hardship worth it. It makes the ruins worth it. When you get to start over as a child and you get to make things. So that brings me down to the hand tattoos and the neck as well. They kind of go together, but I've taken my rings off for this. I wear them on the middle finger. But I have hand tattoos because the energy, I think, flows from the head through the arms into the hands. So these are my hand tattoos. I have these kind of abstract symbols of a sword and an axe. And this represents the actual needing to manifest that story through my actual life. So they become not just tattoos, they become energies that have to then be expressed in my actual hands. I have to do the work physically. I have to make the magic happen, right? My hands are my tools to do that. So these are my they're my protection, they're my power, they're my symbols that I use to make my magic. This one is so hard to see because it's back here, but this is it's the same as the hands. It's it's a protection. It's it's a staff. It's a thing that takes energy and shoots it down to my spine. It's just magical. This next question I would actually also like to ask you, and that is, do you have any nighttime routines or rituals? I would love to know what you do, because this is something that I've struggled with. I struggle to make time for myself at the end of the day. I used to just pass out fully in my clothing sometimes. I will work until I hit nothing and I just wake up the next day. But over the past 2 months, I tried a nighttime routine that's actually really nice. So if you would like to share, maybe there's something that I could add to it that really works for you, I would be curious to know. I have a product for you that's it's unreal. Okay, so I do my hip opening yoga. I have some problems with pain and mobility, so I do hip yoga. I watch some videos and I stretch, and while I do the stretches, I feel love for my body. I will literally, and I'm not joking, I will kiss my arms and I will hold parts of myself. It makes me feel good. Then I brush my teeth. I do a face wash. I apply caffeine eye cream, lotion, and this is advanced eyelash growth serum. I am not joking. The reviews on Amazon are out of control. And I know Amazon is evil, so maybe there's another place you can buy this. And products are not the point. You don't have to spend money. This thing is no joke though. If you do want longer eyelashes, this thing is nuts. brand is WeWell, but I'm sure you could buy another one. It's just eyelash serum. I rarely ever have space and time to give like a product. But this is, I'm going to give gifts. I'm going to buy these and give them as gifts to people for the next Christmas and birthdays, because I've used it every night as part of my nighttime routine. My eyelashes, can I show you? I don't know if you can tell just from like this clip, but the eyelashes, these are 100% natural, and they did not used to look like this. And then I use this serum every night. Look at my eyebrows. I've been putting them on my eyebrows too. I just put it on my eyebrows. No, this is unreal. I'm giving these as gifts to people because they're like, look, you can kind of see the side view, but whoa, I just got it on Amazon to try. Look at these brows. I'm like, yeah. So part of my nighttime routine is I now apply that serum, and then I listen to ASMR or a podcast, and then I'm like asleep within 10 minutes. But I don't know, do you wind down with cocoa? Do you read books? If there's anything you think I should try, please let me know. I think I've discounted the power of a routine or a good product like this. I think this is a good product. And why not, incorporate that into your day to get some self-esteem or some care. So if you have any thing that is like you must check this out, please let me know, because I would love to know, and I would love to get it, snatch it up. Okay, back to the wide view here. Somebody else asks, what drives you to complete your day-to-day life? So work, reading, studying, normal things. Is it pleasure? Is it income? The promise of travel? Or future pleasure? And that is a very interesting question. I wonder what drives you day-to-day life. I would say that I enjoy intentional lived experience, and I have a very fire sign, very lustful relationship with the world, so I feel compelled to read and write and study, and then I have a need for money, like income, so I do have a 9-to-5. If I didn't have a 9-to-5, I would quit, or if I didn't need it, I would quit, and I would choose to work part-time at an LGBTQ center, like a senior center or a school arts program, somewhere where I could help people, and I feel compelled to do that, even if I won the lottery. So I think pleasure, just fire sign compulsion, and I think maybe a sense of justice, because I'm so angry at the world for creating conditions that make joy difficult, and kind of I don't know why we cannot transcend this economic tie to an income and a job. So part of my lust for the world is a little bit of a middle finger to the world. For this next question, I kind of liked when we were up close like this, so it'd be nice if we could have the camera here. I feel like you can do this in ASMR. If we were on an airplane, you would be back up a little bit. You're in my space, but because we're on a video, it might work. So somebody asked, do you have a spiritual practice? Whatever that means to you. Do you have a system of beliefs you consider spiritual? how are you finding London life? And I would answer that I adore it. That I really adore it. And that I really like that it's a walkable city, and I like Greg's, where you can buy the sausage rolls. I even have a photograph of Greg's. And I'm looking at it because it's in my office. It's in my bedroom. It's my room. Also, welcome to my room. It got too cold in the attic, so I've moved. I'm in here now. Somebody else asks, what is something about moving to the UK that you didn't think you'd enjoy as much as you do? And that I love your videos. Thank you. Oh, I did not expect to like crumpets and tea as much as I do, but I do. I think Americans love a beverage. I don't think that can be underestimated. Americans love a beverage, but I am drinking more variety here. I'm not drinking more. I actually think that Americans blow the English out of the water with the beverage game. I want to take someone from London and I want to drop them into a Chevron in Glendale, California, and just be like, look, you can have any kind of protein drink, any kind of energy drink, you can dream any flavor of tea, any kind of soda. We drink them all day. You can get an iced beverage anytime you want. Okay. Somebody says, why did you escape to London town? What are you running from? My medical debt. I will never pay that, ever. I don't know who's watching this. This may or may not be true. I theoretically, hypothetically, possibly not. I paid a lot of it and it was horrible, and I got a bill for $4,000 more. $4,000. And I ignored it, and hypothetically, I've ignored it for years. This is a video. Some things I say may or may not be true. I've ignored it for years. I will never pay that. Okay. This is something, if you would like to answer, please do. That could be kind of nice. But somebody asked, what is your dream in life? Which is a very sweet question. And I would say that I want the dual two-way street of connection. I would like to help people, and I want them to help me. And by help, I really mean like connect and feel connection. I think my dream in life is to do like this, but maybe more, which is sharing my ideas and sharing like a POV that's very kind and quite open to exploring the self. I will say too, ASMR artists I just watched while being sick a lot. I was sick and recovering. It's Boxcar ASMR and ASMR Paperback Boy, of course. And I think their content is like an example of, I like ingesting POVs that help me navigate complexity. That's why I like reading fiction a lot. Complicated people in real life, in books, on here, help me navigate complexity. Like, complexity helps me navigate complexity. And I would like to do that in return. And I would like to do that through YouTube and writing. I would like to publish. So I think in a weird way, I am living my dream. It's just not economic, but I am living it, which is great, and I'm very lucky. My job is my job. Someone asked me about that. But I do think I live my dream in this way, and I'm just hoping to live it more, live it bigger. So that's my dream in life. some mindsets for getting out of stagnancy and repairing the scrambled internet goop brain. I used to love reading. I really relate to that question. I will say that a backdoor approach has worked for me in the past. Something that kind of shakes me around. I can't make myself do the thing that resists me. Like I can't read a book if I'm not in the mood to read a book. It's terrible. So something random will do, like watching a kind of a random movie, or I'll go see a show. I can think of some performances that have really like shaken me up recently. Or sometimes I'll eat food I've never eaten before. I feel like stagnancy is totally normal, and sometimes you just have to throw like a rock in the water and just see what happens. It might go stagnant again, it might fall silent. Or maybe you throw the rock and you hit a fish that just like gets the whole ocean going, gets the whole thing stirring. So maybe try and detach from the outcome and just start throwing a rock in the stagnancy. See what happens. One time I ate Ethiopian food. I never had Ethiopian food. And my dad, I was kind of depressed, and my dad and I ate Ethiopian food. It woke me up. It just woke me up. I ate it with my hands, and it was so flavorful. It was at lunch. There was no one else around but me and my dad, and we were freaking out, and it just like opened up a neural pathway and made me want to keep opening more. I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back to ham and cheese sandwiches when I had Ethiopian food right in front of me for the first time. I felt like a chump. So, maybe a backdoor approach. Just lean off the gas, have a little fun, do something new. So, thank you for that question. That's my real answer. The next question is a good one. It is, have you ever been or felt really stuck in life? And if so, did you do something in particular to get unstuck? Oh yeah, I have felt stuck many, many times before. Like I wasn't going anywhere in my life, or just things weren't happening. And each time that happened, I just dared. One time I dared to quit a job. I have dared to go to grad school. I dare. And I think that seems to have worked for people in movies and in books, to dare to do something. And it has worked for me. Yeah. I think sometimes just launching yourself into a new stratosphere of the world, or culture. So I would dare to do something, and that blank I think is for you to fill. You'll probably know what it is, because it'll be like tapping at the window like a little creature, like a raccoon who sees you eating a Philly cheesesteak and is like, can I have? And you're like, no, that's irrational. I can't let you in the house. But you'll know, because it'll be tapping and you'll be tempted. I would do it. I would dare. I mean it. Okay. The next question is, and it's an interesting one, what are your core values? This is a very interesting one. The first word that came to mind was accountability. Accountability and effort. Oh, and this is a big one. I am trying in this world to be accountable and not be a little freak of nature. And I have caught myself being a freak of nature. And every time I do, I allow myself to feel proud and like good, because I caught myself being a freak. I will try to twist, like if I'm angry at somebody or a situation, I will twist the facts in my head to justify my anger, and I'll catch myself and I'll be like, that's not how it happened. You are lying to yourself and you are not taking accountability. Like, I don't know if I've told this story, I might have on this channel, where I was waiting for a package to be delivered. The mailwoman knocked on my door, and I froze because I don't know why, and I grabbed like a kitchen knife, and I did that thing where you're like, who is knocking on the door? And then I heard her go away, and she shuffled away, and then I like peeked, and there was no one out there, but there was a slip. It's the slip that's like, oh, we missed you, we tried to deliver your package, you weren't in. And for some reason I was so angry that I had missed this package because I'd unconsciously went into like freeze mode. And when of course it was the mail person, and I was so angry that I missed the package that I started spinning it in my head. And in my head, she had barely waited for me. She knocked on the door and she didn't give me any time to get there. And it was her fault. And I caught myself being ridiculous and lying to myself. And I was so shocked. I think it was the first time that it happened. I was so like, wow, you can never do this. Do not be this person. That's my core value. Accountability, and to try to be a good person. Those are my values. Okay, the next question is, what got you started in this kind of ASMR, meaning the warm chats with friends style instead of focused trigger ASMR? P.S. It's why I enjoy your channel so much. Thank you. I did unconsciously grab a book to like tap on. But yes, I don't have a traditional ASMR channel. I have more of the fringier ones. And I do feel quite like chatting. And I like when people chat with me. I think it can be difficult in real life to talk to people sometimes. And I've always wanted to explode academia. I've loved college and I've hated it. Because I like ideas that college provides and the people, but I cannot stand academic discourse and writing. I want to like tear through the screen. I want to rip the book in half and be like, can we be a real human being? I don't like situations where you can't be a real human being, like at the DMV or at the dentist. Like, just talk to me like a person, but you're just a number. You're like a cog in the wheel. I don't like having things that are inhuman. So I think the warm chat with friends feels very genuine to me. It feels very good to me. Trigger videos are very relaxing to me as well, but not like a person talking to me and creating that space. That's why I like to do it. I will also say, sometimes I get comments that like blow my mind, where I'm like, oh, I'll put something personal out there and somebody just like nails like a therapist level analysis. It's the real deal. It's the real deal. People are very complicated. But thank you for that question. I'm glad that people enjoy that style of ASMR, because I can't shut up. I cannot talk about life. Okay. Somebody asked, how did you meet your girlfriend? School. The old-fashioned way. School. A kind commenter says, hey, on your channel you have sometimes talked about your past experience of having a stroke. How do you think that experience affected or changed you? Also, I'm a nursing student, so I'm just curious. You don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable talking about it. was the cause? Yes. So, I am changed. I do think differently now. I have weakness on the left side of my body, and I don't feel things normally. I have chronic pain because my brain doesn't communicate well to the right. So I'm sometimes contracted, and I have weakness because I can't coordinate well. So I have some chronic pain. It's like if your limbs fell asleep. You know that feeling, like white noise on a TV? That's the left side of my body feels like that. And it will squeeze. However, I am more connected to myself. I have a lot less feelings of shame. A lot. And I am more loving. And I think having a kind of neurodivergence now, I think it forced me to chill out and just be like, okay, it is what it is. We're not going out today. We're gonna have a heating pad on today. Yeah, I feel a lot nicer to myself. If you are neurodivergent watching this, you better get that heating pad, get in the bed, get the book out. Just get that book out, read your book. Also, it was a hemorrhagic stroke. So, I had a cavernous malformation in my brain. So I was born with blood vessels that did not develop correctly, and they hemorrhaged. If you're a nursing student, you know that. But everyone else, I have a hole in my brain. And they did a craniotomy. So I have a big scar that goes from the top of my head all the way to behind my ear. I know for people who have had stuff like that happen to you, I know it can be a lot. Especially if you have chronic pain or people who have autoimmune stuff. I know it can be really hard. And it makes care very important and love very important. So I think those things, they have the opportunity to come into your life more, and I hope that they enter people's lives. Everyone should have those things in their life. So thank you for your question. You're a nursing student. You're probably working very, very hard. I can imagine. You're working very, very hard. Okay, so good luck out there. And thank you for your question. I like questions like that. Someone says, please relay us the best day you've ever had. Oh, and I've thought about it. And I've thought that many of the things I thought about involve being either at the park with my dad, or at the beach with my mom, or at the park I live next to right now, like on a sunny day with a cappuccino and just walking. And I think all of those scenes create like a picture, like a emotional memory of a good day. So I like those memories a lot. So the perfect day, the best day you've ever had, has been one of those outside days, probably all of them. Oh, someone else asks, if you would like to answer any of these questions, please do. And I would like to specifically ask you this one. Do you have a happy place? Somebody asked me, and I'm asking you, do you have a happy place? Oh, I hope you do. Oh, I really hope you do. For me, I have two. The park by my house, so lovely. And my room, this room right here. You want to see my room? Can I show you? This is my happy place. Let's take a look. Whoa. Welcome to Alex's happy place. Welcome to Alex's happy place. There's the bed. Woo. I got a big stack of books. books and a lamp. I got pictures. I got books, so I have the attic up there, but this is my room. And I think everyone hopefully should have like a space that's their space, where it's just for them. And this is my happy place, like, where I can think and I can just be at peace, and yeah, I love it. So that's my happy place. What is your happy place? I got another question. Someone says, I heart your videos. Thank you so much. And they want to know, what do you do for work or industry, etc.? So, I work for a university in the United States. I work full-time. I am remote. So, I am living in London, of course, but I work for a university in the United States. I am an administrator for one of the university's programs, which shall remain nameless. I work in a team, and it is a great job. It's a great job. Yeah, it's not my dream, right? Like, I would like to work in person again, at least part-time, and work with, like, in my community. But I really enjoy working for a university, and it's a good job. So that's what I do. I work for a university. I send the emails, I'm on Outlook and Teams and all that fun stuff. Sorry if those are the wrong kind of triggers for this video. So I won't talk about any more work apps in case you're trying to peace out, relax. So I'll talk about a stroke all day, but Outlook, let's get on a new topic. Oh, speaking of new topic, relaxing. Somebody asks, knowing that death will come to us all one day is comforting to me. What's your relationship to death? Does it feel scary and or freeing to you? That's a very good question. I am terrified of it, and I think that terror terrorizes me, but also frees me and sends me running forward and focused on blocking out that noise to just be alive. It makes me furious at the world. It makes me want to tear apart everything that limits human beings. It makes me want to kick the doors of the pen, the barn, kick them open, and just run with all the other people out into the field and burn something to the ground. The next question. Someone says, I'm not sure how to word this, but do you ever feel like no one understands you on an emotionally intellectual level? Yes. And I thought about this question a lot. It's an interesting question. And I have found that it's true. And when the world felt like that, like I wasn't being understood on that level, there were two reasons. The first way is that it was just one of those situations where just culturally, like in high school, culturally, no one is trying to see you on that level. It's a void escape of, people blowing off responsibility to other human beings. And being a mess, like high school is. It's high school. They can't see you. Although sometimes there would be a surprise in there. But other times, more in the adult world, when I have felt not seen in that way, it's because I was not opening up. I really believe that. Like that, I do feel it was because I made a conscious or unconscious choice to not be vulnerable. And lately, when I have really challenged that and just said the wackiest thing to people found when I take a broom that way that I am met with a lot of understanding, and it'll come out of like the person you don't expect it. It'll be some person just being like, yeah, I also, and then insert something really, really personal. Sometimes I think you will just run up against someone totally different who just doesn't care and is not on that wavelength. But I have found that many a times I did not allow for people to connect with me because I did not open up. And when I have realized that my picture of everyone else was a little off. It was a little off. So, thank you for that question. It was really interesting to think about that. Okay. Alright. Somebody asks, as a neurodivergent, how do you become better at critical thinking? That's also very interesting. I would say maybe the first step is release all shame. It's hard to think critically if you've got some shame around the ways that you think or what helps you think. So just rolling with it and releasing the shame. And then I think the second one is I would perhaps build conscious relationships to the other. Anything that is other than you. Like a book maybe that you would never judge. Kind of like my Ethiopian moment. My Ethiopian food. That really, it woke my brain up into making new connections. So I think to think critically is to think about what is different, what is the same between things you've encountered in the past and what you're encountering now, and how you feel about it. How do you feel about this thing that you're encountering? So I would say to be better at critical thinking is to kind of clear the airspace emotionally, get the shame out of there, and then start to compare and contrast and make new connections. You know, you gotta compare and contrast and see what interesting things appear. When I ate the Ethiopian food with my hands, it really made me think of the fork differently. I kind of thought of the fork as like a little, not like a chastity belt, but like this kind of detachment between my body and the food. And so now I'm just thinking, maybe I'll make a bad metaphor, like I think a fork is a chastity belt, but at least I'm thinking. Maybe in all that thinking I'll come up with something really good, really interesting, a good metaphor, who knows. But just getting the ball rolling with some novelty, kind of break you out of old patterns. That's how I would answer that. So thank you for that question. Someone else says, how do you deal with loneliness after something life-changing, like a stroke? Me. Or an abdominal injury in the case of the person asking. I feel like I lost myself and who I am. I relate to that a lot. Because, yeah, like I said, those things, illness, it changes you. It can be a scary feeling because it makes you very vulnerable and it pulls you out of these ideals of life into a state of precariousness that can be hard to have a relationship with yourself or the old relationship. It's hard for those to transition through that. It's hard to transition through that with other people, for sure. But it can be hard to hang on to your sense of self. My answer to that is very similar to the last one, which involves a release of shame and a kind of careful listening, I'd say, to like, what state am I in now? How am I feeling now? What do I not like anymore? But what do I like? Okay, I don't like nightlife anymore. I can't go out anymore. But do I like mornings and afternoons? You know, what am I drawn to now? What am I thinking about now? I got up to grab this book to tap on, but one of the things that has helped me, this is a very recent read, I just finished this today, this morning, but it represents something that has really helped me, which is to see myself reflected in other people. So this book is Giving Up the Ghost by Hilary Mantel. She had endometriosis, which can be very painful, and she had a surgery, and she talks about how it changed her body and she didn't recognize herself anymore, and how alienating it is to have other people recognize that something's happened to you, and they can see it and they don't understand it, or they misunderstand you. So it really helped me to read about other people's experiences. After my stroke, I went through a good chunk of time like completely denying and just feeling like a failure because I did not want to acknowledge my limitations. I would try and go out at night and go to clubs and would just be like non-functional. I would try and go like walking, like exercising and doing all this stuff, and I could not do it. And I felt very far away from all my old hobbies. I didn't want to do anything that I like went to school for and got a degree in, and it felt bad, like I was a failure because I didn't follow through on this kind of abstract idea. And for her, she couldn't follow through on this abstract idea of being like a woman and a mom. And I would allow yourself to grieve that. That's very important. Sadness. You have to grieve that. And then in the absence of it, you start to slowly piece together, what do you do? What do you have? In this case, I have ASMR. And I love coffee and I love being out in the day. The night is for me now. I can't go out. And in this case, no kids, but she has her books. She's a writer. She's got her husband and she has these books. And she has these incredible, incredible ideas and this incredible inner life that she wrote, put in paper, and I read it and it touched me and made me cry. And that's how I would handle that. That's how I've dealt with my loneliness. Is I've built myself up and I've like reached out for other people and kind of allowed them in my life to share their pain and their stories. And it's just really, really helped me. I hope that that kind of gray area, that transition period, is something that you're able to navigate, but give yourself a lot of space and a lot of time to feel very complexly. Definitely don't be scared of any of your thoughts, no matter how kind of dark or mournful they are, because I think that's an important step. I think if you don't mourn it, don't grieve it, you might be apt to repression and denial. But thank you for your question. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this answer helped. Let's answer some of the last questions in this section. Can you believe it? But somebody asked, what are some of your biggest bummers? Big bummers. Definitely being too sick to have coffee. Oh, that is the worst. I had one for the past few, week, 7 days. One of those days I just couldn't have coffee. It made me sad. But also when I smile at somebody and they don't smile at me back. Oh, the other day I smiled at someone at a bookstore, who was gonna help me check out, and she did not say sincerity and maybe reflecting upon and aligning with Albus Dumbledore. I enjoy him because he's a wizard. He's a man, but he's a wizard. And he's not interested in the whole show and tell. He's just truly vibing and has a sense of right that includes other people. He doesn't really have any needs behind the wheel of the car. And I think if you're like a really self-serious person, there might be a wounded child need in the driver's seat of the car that's steering it a little to the left and a little to the right. Where you actually might need other people to respect you or view you a certain way. And so I think self-seriousness is a bit of a performance, actually. So I think, if you're not self-serious and you don't, that need's not behind the car, you'll probably end up a very intellectual and curious person, but without a pretension, because you don't have the need to be necessarily seen in a particular way. So, Dumbledore. That's the answer. Thank you for the question. Another question. What do you do when your curiosity fades away? Or does it not ever? It does fade away because the wheel of time and the up and down, and I get low energy periods for sure. And when that does happen, I do rest. So I'll read something I've already read, like Harry Potter is typically, if I'm reading my old YA books or my child books, and probably my curiosity's faded away and I just want to be hugged. So I will watch a comfort show, or I'll read a comfort book, or just exist in the park, just chill. Okay, my last two questions, and they're segue questions. But someone asks, what were your early queer loves and heartbreaks like? This needs a video to itself, for sure. My love life has been a series of shame-induced confusion. I've never, in my past, I did not have anything that was comfortable. So, a hallmark of my early years was discomfort and awkwardness. And I did not have anything that resembled a graphic novel or a movie, a Netflix special. I either desired older women abstractly who just would have not looked at me, or I engaged in kind of micro situationships because I was just terrified, and I thought that's what you were supposed to do, and I thought desire was like the same thing. Having desire meant that you then wanted something real to manifest that desire in. Not the case. So I was always ending up in situations where I thought I wanted to flirt, and it's actually made me deeply uncomfortable, and I would have to run away and blow it up or ghost or just be a freak. So I am thankful to be out of that period of my life. But my early queer loves and heartbreaks, fictional La La Land, because in real life they were a mess and none of that happened. The last question is, would you like to be my gay platonic internet crush pen pal? And my answer is sure. I love a pen pal, but I am horrible at replying, so good luck. Good luck. I do reply, but it's because my work is so email that I just that combined with that neurodivergence, I have a real communication problem, but I'm working on it. It is time it is time for the next section, the gay one. Sponsoring this section of the video, I'm very lucky to have received this sponsorship. It is this stone mini seahorse. The mini seahorse stone. Very lucky to have received this. Please check out the sponsor. Please check out the sponsor in the video now. Please check out the sponsor. The lesbian sponsor, the seahorse. The crystal stone seahorse. Thank you, sponsor. And thank you everyone for checking out the sponsor. That keeps this channel going. Lesbianism, queerness, awkwardness, gender. Let's talk about it. We're not gonna rush. This video is very long, and we're not gonna rush. We're not gonna do it. We're gonna take our time. So, let's get into it. The first question: what are some of your lesbian hot takes? Very good question. Okay. I hope this is not a hot take, but it is my only take that I've actively confronted people in real life on. And that is, I define lesbianism, I wrote this down, and all identity labels as words which best describe a broad pattern of attraction and an affinity for cultural artifacts of that label. Cultural artifacts of that label. Cultural artifacts. I identify as a lesbian, so I am broadly attracted to sapphic, presenting people and cultural artifacts of lesbianism. Is it vague? I know. In my scheme of things, if I call myself a lesbian, then the person hearing that should have no clue what type of body, what type of human body or pronoun arrangement I am attracted to at any given point in time. Because I tend to view those types of yes or no kind of categories as bureaucratic and not very interesting to me personally. I have met many a lesbian who has had their identity completely thrown into the wind by a they them or a queer he him with a guitar or a sweater. But in my opinion, it doesn't have to be threatened by that. Do whatever you want. Like however you want. The lesbian position, I don't think, is threatened by the kind of grammatical and bureaucratic matters of housekeeping. I think it's a broad category. You can identify with it or not. So that's my genuine take, and I have had interactions with people who really disagree with me because they're in a different kind of political camp. Yeah, that's it. I will say, there's not, because my definitions are broad, there's not many people that get kicked out of my lesbian utopia. You can be a flat earther. You can hang out in my lesbian utopia, but a TERF cannot, ever. They are gone, banished. They are kicked out of the utopia. They are not sponsored. They are not sponsored. That's my lesbian hot take. I really don't have much else. I really don't. Wear whatever you want to wear. Do whatever you want to do. I don't know anything about pop culture. Is Billie Eilish gay or is she bi? I don't know. See, I don't get housekeeping. I don't care. Billie Eilish can do whatever she wants. Who is it? Chapel Rowan. I can't. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Somebody else asks, what are your favorite queer books or written works? Thank you for that question. one of the most formative was Affinity by Sarah Waters. Affinity. That was like, had me on the edge of my seat. Another one is Why Be Happy When You Can Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson. I've talked about this book. What a fiery lady, and I love it. Made me cry. I also really like this book. This is In Search of the Missing Eyelash by Karen McLeod. This book is a niche one. It is about a lesbian whose girlfriend has left her for a man, and then our main character is like, she's delusional in a really raw way. She's delusional about the relationship she had with this woman, and then she romanticizes a woman that she meets at a bar, and the difference between her romanticizing the woman and then when they actually meet in person is devastating, but it is so real. This book is like, I was a little bit, my mouth was kind of open sometimes. I was like, I want a more refreshing read for sure. I liked how neurotic it was. Yeah, I really like Jeanette Winterson, and I'm trying to think, that's, yeah, of the ones of my more adult self, it would be Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, In Search of the Missing Eyelash, and I like Sarah Waters because, of course, you know what I mean, her writing is very erotic, and I like that. Another question is, which pride flag has the coolest design? I would say a controversial flag is one of the earliest lesbian flags ever made. It's controversial because it was designed by a man. But also the lesbian flag picture that I found on the internet, I really like because it has cool values. Okay, I had to get it off my wall, but I really like the words on it. So I like that it says gender nonconformity, because I believe that lesbianism transcends gender categories. Independence, very true. I think I like this because as lesbians we can create conditions for ourselves and our partners that make us free. We can make each other free. Community, because we all need love. We need communal love. I like unique relationships to womanhood. I just like that sentence. Unique relationships to womanhood. I like that that's open to like not having one, to the micro experience of every person. It says serenity and peace because we deserve that. Everybody deserves that. Love and sex, because you get to define those things. You get to make those things. You change those things. And femininity, which I like to think of as the archetype of femininity, a kind of natural Mother Nature, goddess level type of femininity, like a howling wolf t-shirt, you know, that type of femininity, the kind of ancient forest spirit. So I think this flag with these words is cool. I don't think this is official, but I like it. I like this one. The next question is, what was your moment of lesbian awakening? It was Nigella Lawson sneaking to the kitchen in her bathrobe and eating cold chicken out of the fridge with her bare hands. I was an early adolescent, a child, I guess. I saw that on TV. Sincerely, a confused queer woman who likes to hear other people's experiences. You rock, by the way. Your videos both relax and inspire me. Well, thank you. So, yes, I am a lesbian. When did I figure that out? Well, in middle school, my friends wanted a boyfriend dynamic, and I did not. I was drawn to, like, the archetype of, like, the woman archetype, which my teachers had a piece of, right, and I could recognize that. But that was unobtainable for me to get, and, conceptualized that way, I was unable to obtain the consequence of desire, is what I'm trying to say. And so my friends, they got to have boyfriends and stuff, so they developed, like, kind of into sexual beings. Sexuality became like a part of their performance, a part of their validation. And I got stuck in time. I just got stuck. And being stuck made me realize that something was very different. And I thought, of course, at the time, I thought something's wrong with me, or maybe I didn't like anybody, or what was happening. But then later I saw lesbians on movies, on Netflix, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I thought, yeah, it's something like that. And I thought, okay, that's how I knew. So, thank you for that question. Another question is, when did you know you were a queer person? And what are some queer affirmations you would tell your younger self? Thanks for posting. Love your videos. Thank you. So, yeah, when did I know affirmations? I definitely would have told my younger self to slow down and listen to my body. Like I've kind of mentioned before, I had the concept of desire, of lesbian desire, but I didn't need to translate that into actual experiences that made me uncomfortable. I should have listened to myself, and I wish I could tell myself to slow down. If I don't want a relationship, I don't have to. If you don't want to go on a date, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to emulate the movie. You can make something new, but at that age, when you're a young person, it's so hard to understand that. You just kind of recreate the things that you see in the world, and I wish I would have given myself more space and more time to figure things out for myself. Yeah. Okay, so I got kind of two questions that go together. The first one is, what are your thoughts on the idea of gender? Can you tell us more about your gender experience and what things you associate with it? Thanks for your videos. Thank you. And then someone says, hello, Alex. I am a big fan of yours, and I have a question about labels. That's great. How do you deal with not being able to label yourself? I am a detransitioned woman and have dated men and women, and I have no idea what my sexuality is. I feel very isolated from the LGBT community and straight people because I don't fit in any box. What would your advice be for a young, maybe queer person? So, for a long time, I was misgendered a lot. I was called a boy, and this was a recurring theme throughout my childhood. I was always called a boy. People thought I was a boy. Even when I had long hair, I would just get called a boy. And when I look back, the first times I ever felt shame, it didn't come from me, it came from other people who were very embarrassed that I looked like a boy or I acted like a boy, and then I internalized it, right? So I said, oh yeah, and I felt embarrassed and I felt shame. So I was a tomboy. I was awkward. I was frozen in time while my peers were kind of they had that flow. You know, their gender kind of flowed out through these cultural channels of boyfriends and dating and media. And I was stuck, blocked in many, many ways, and I wasn't moving. And I felt like I was failing at being a girl. Like I was failing because I was getting called a boy, which made me ashamed. And so I tried to do many things to fit in a checkbox. One is I tried to kind of be girly at different times, and I always felt like a clown. To this day, to this very day, I don't do heels. I don't do dresses or skirts. I'm particular about my fashion because I'm still very tomboyish. I feel like that's how I move through the world. But once upon a time, I would try to like put the skirt on and stuff, and I regret that. But I was trying. And then I would try to be like really masculine, and I felt very insecure. And that just, I feel like I failed at that. And it was a mess. I feel like I didn't fit in a box either. And I didn't know what to do with myself. Since then, I've just kind of let it go. Even if you look back on this channel at my early videos, I have short hair. I've had short hair a lot in my life and worn men's clothing. And now I have purses. You can see them. I carry bags, which is very different for me. But I wear a t-shirt and jeans and either Hoka tennis shoes or boots. I do not wear women's blouses. I just don't like it. I've never liked it. It freaks me out. But I have found through many years of shaking off that sense of failure and just trying to be comfortable with myself, I realized that I do like makeup and purses and having longer hair and maybe even tighter silhouettes. But then there are those things that they've never budged, and they're not going to probably, or if they do, great, but I'm not as worried about it as I used to be. So to answer the question about my relationship with gender and my gender experience, I used to be very like, I'm this or I'm this, and then I needed all the symbols that went with that. So, okay, to be a girl, let me put on a skirt. It was a mess. Okay, to be like masculine, like how am I going to be desired? I was rejected as a girl, so let me lean into my masculinity, and maybe people will think I'm cute. And I leaned into that, and I still felt awkward and embarrassed and undesired. Now that I have relaxed that, and I've realized I'm like a kelp in the water. I'll flow a little this way, I flow a little that way, but I kind of make this balance where I feel comfortable, and short hair might be in my future again. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But my gender experience has been a whirlwind, and it has resulted in the final like release of all labels because I couldn't do it anymore. I could not keep up anymore. To that second question, how do you deal with not being able to label yourself and not fitting in a box and feeling isolated? The best thing that I've encountered is like, I tell people all the time, like I tell people my experiences, and I have found that there are many people who feel just like me. Like a lot of people in the the queer space who are also like, some of their choices have been because of shame. Like, some of their choices have been through shame, and everyone goes through this very personal journey to figure out the ways in which what ideas are they clinging to that are cultural, and what actually affirms them and makes them feel good, like makes them feel really good as a person. So my advice to a young person, especially maybe a queer person, is to allow yourself to slow down and feel everything. Try everything from a place of kindness. And yeah, if you can't label yourself, don't label yourself, or find one of those labels that means everything. You know, what's most comfortable, like, you know, if you're pansexual, pangender, whatever, or maybe you don't want to label it at all, then don't, and just find other language, which I know can be hard, but I think there are a lot of queer people out there who feel that same way. So that would be my advice, would be to like kind of release the expectation and learn what's there. Who am I? I think too, it's very likely that people are going to change. I've changed so much. I kind of feel very comfortable for the first time, but it doesn't mean that through comfort I might evolve into some other place. And I think some people evolve through discomfort, and my gender has evolved through discomfort. But now it does evolve through comfort, and so trying to find what feels comfortable in the moment, but not cling on to it like it's a narrative, and just like, if you change, but just, do you feel comfortable with yourself? And that's what matters, is that feeling. So thank you for the questions. I have one last one for this section. Somebody asks, if being gay had never been stigmatized in history, how different do you think the world would be today? That's quite interesting. In my narrow thought experiment, I'm like, I bet so many people wouldn't have been born because of compulsory heterosexuality. You might have, if you were allowed to be gay, people might have just skipped the first husband, the first wife, and just jumped straight to, you know, having fun and having different kids. So I think the world would be very different, but also I do like to think that the world would be a happier place and more creative, because it's gotta mean, if being gay had never been stigmatized, it's gotta mean that people were more creative thinkers than that. Much more creative thinkers, kinder thinkers. So I think the world would be a happier place. Okay. That was it for the gay questions. Now it is time to look at the inner life of media, books, movies, and entertainment. Somebody asked, what are your favorite movies or TV shows, or any sort of media that you enjoy? And someone else asks, hi, would you mind sharing your favorite films and or TV shows? Smiley faces. Yes, my favorite show of all time is True Detective, Season 1. My other answers are Malcolm in the Middle and Wishbone. My dude, my guy. I used to love Arthur too. I'm thinking of kid shows. That's funny. But True Detective Season 1, slam dunk. My movie taste makes no sense. I think that's normal. Highly eclectic. My favorite movie is Last Holiday. The Last Holiday with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J. I also like Watermelon Woman. However, if you're looking at things collectively, it tends to lean toward dark, sci-fi, speculative, techno-future. So I like Alien, all of the Alien movies. I like Predator. I loved Annihilation. any war movie. Any war movie. So I like Apocalypse Now. I like anything to do with Vietnam, World War I, World War II. I love horror movies, lots of horror movies. I'm a weenie. I'm a big weenie for the horror movies. I will close my eyes through most of it, but I still keep coming back. And I like Alfred Hitchcock. So, as a base, I like that. You know, like Coraline. I like the Nightmare Before Christmas. But then I also like Last Holiday. That's my favorite. Okay. Thank you for those questions. Oh, yes, okay. I would love it if you would answer this, if you would like to. But somebody asked me, what are your favorite songs, bands, and what kind of music do you like? Someone else asked, who are some of your favorite musicians? So, if you would like to put a song that you like and share that, please do. I would love to listen, and I will genuinely listen. I promise you. So, mostly I listen to gothic music, darker music, but I also like ethereal, and I like western, kind of bluesy music. And as far as my favorite musicians, I actually have a playlist on this YouTube. It's in my playlist tab, and it's my favorite songs. Now, I think like everybody, I listen to a million billion songs all the time, every day. But this playlist is for songs that are embedded in my consciousness. Like, I would want people to play these songs to me when I'm like 90 so I can remember my life. That playlist, if you ever feel like checking it out, has a bunch of stuff. Seal is on there. I like that song Crazy by Seal. I used to think that song was kind of corny, and then one day I just listened to it, like really listened to it. It was playing in a banh mi shop. I was waiting for someone to make me a banh mi, and I was watching him put the jalapenos on the banh mi and slicing the tofu, and that song Crazy by Seal was playing, and it hit me like the full meaning of the song, and I was like, I'm in England getting a banh mi. What's happening? Who am I? And the song filled me with ecstasy at how random that micro moment was. I've listened to that song hundreds of times. Okay, thank you for the question. Please, if you have a song like that, I promise you I will listen to it. I promise you. Someone asked, are there any books that have deeply impacted the way you think or altered your brain chemistry? Yes. Okay, so more historically, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I talked about that with my tattoos. Also Paul Tillich, The Courage to Be. I've talked about that on this channel in a longer video, but that book changed my life. And also Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre's The Words, or Words, depending on the translation. It's his autobiography, and he's an absolute maniac freak. I love it. He's so pessimistic and narcissistic, and it releases me from... I have a longer video about that. It's a book recommendation for freaks, freaked out intellectuals. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. You're either a freaked out intellectual or you're a freak. If you're either one, you might like that book. More recently, Why Be Happy When You Can Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson, and yes, the passion, the fury for life is incredible. Also, Olga Tokarczuk, what a lady. I'm gonna mention her later down this list. But thank you for the question. somebody else asked, have you watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Thoughts? I have seen some of this. What a loony bin. I love the Real Housewives. Salt Lake City with the Mormon angle, deeply disturbing, but I must be honest, I stopped watching it so that I could finish New York, and that's where I'm living right now, in Real Housewives of New York City. I love Real Housewives of New York City. I plan on making a housewife related video, like a deep existential philosophical talk, because it blows my mind that also, just like those books I mentioned, they release me. They're naughty, they're privileged, they're bad girls of the world. They expand my potential in this world. That will be a longer video, I promise you. So, thank you for that question. I can't wait to make that video. The next question, is there a book you'd recommend everyone read, and if so, why? And I thought about this, and my first thought was Wind in the Willows, and my second thought was The Diary of Anne Frank. But only if people were gonna read those books, especially The Diary of Anne Frank, and really feel the weight. Like, I think everyone should feel the weight of that book and Anne Frank's spirit, her beauty. But I have this fantasy where, like, if only people could read it like magic, like it would melt their frozen heart. It would grow. Like if I don't like if people politically could read this book. In my fantasy, they just change. They just, like the Grinch, they just magically become good, and they would never want anybody to feel that weight of ever again, or live that life ever again. And just like Anne Frank's writing, she's a girl. She's like a real girl. And she's reaching out to you through time to just be your friend and just be her. Like, the magic of that. That's the fantasy behind my answer, is that I think everyone should read that book, because in my head it would change the world for the better, and it would make people less angry. But it's, that's the fantasy. But those are my answers. Okay. The next question. Honest thoughts on Dostoevsky / what have you read? Crime and Punishment. I love that book. I loved it when I read it. I thought to see into like the twisted dark nature of the human soul, I think he is an amazing writer. He is, however, one of the aestheticized writers. Deeply aestheticized writers, though. So, he is a writer that people enjoy performing, because the equivalence between reading the darkness and then suggesting that depth of self. You read a deep book, you are deep, that kind of performative relationship. So, I think Dostoevsky's amazing. If you're gonna perform intellectualism, why not? Why not give Dostoevsky a go? So, someone else asked, what are your favorite books of last year? Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead and Northwoods. I think about those books to this day. There's one story in Northwoods, one chapter about two sisters that haunts me. These two sisters that one doesn't really let the other one grow up, or like wants to control her. It haunts me. And then Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. Life-changing. I love a naughty woman why do we see a lack of women in the philosophy space? Perhaps too many are shy and hiding somewhere. I've got a big old answer for you. Level 1. We're gonna build from here. This is a hot take, this is coming purely from me. I think women philosophers have been, since the dawn of time, they've been writing, and they've been writing fiction. They have stayed putting their deepest, most profound thoughts into other worlds and in profound fiction for a long time. Yeah, again, you're hearing it here. It's just my own argument. I think that women have put their philosophy in fiction and in books, other types of books, and in music and in paintings and art, by the way. So just non-philosophy. For many reasons. I think part of that is that they were gate-kept out of this very male project of slicing up the world, slicing up the entire world, and have generally then taken alternative scholastic paths like the arts for their ideas. And I think this is wise. This is very wise. It's wise when men do it too, but it's because the artists are people who understand that the world is connected in this way, in that philosophy as a vacuum is interesting, but it's half missing. So now I will build on that answer and just say that I think that's historically been the case, in my opinion. But I do think that now there is like contemporary theory, contemporary and kind of critical discourse, which is a more direct philosophical approach. It's more playful, it's engaged in culture, and here in kind of contemporary critical theory and discourse, women are on the loose. I think about all the non-binary authors and the post-gender and whatever. I just read a really cutting, sharp book. It's called Monogamous Mind, Polyamorous Terror. And it's incredibly insightful. And it's a really challenging look at monogamy, lesbian monogamy included. So anyway, amazing, theoretical, powerful thoughts coming out from women and from queer people and non-binary people. That's my answer to that. I hope that helps or that's interesting. Again, it's just my take. Someone else asks, did you study philosophy, or is it just something that interests you? If not, what is your background? I did study philosophy for like a semester, and I had to quit because it annoyed me. So it is something that deeply interests me, and because it interests me, I was not able to study it academically. My background is in film and animation, so very different. Somebody else asks, do you think humans are inherently good or bad, or is morality entirely shaped by society? Yes, I think the concepts of good and bad are shaped by cultures and language is what I'm trying to say. And that good and bad are not inherent qualities, but the desire to place human behavior in good and bad categories is inherent in human beings. We are designed to feel distress, and culture is inherent. So I think good and bad is a product of culture, and culture is inherent in human beings, if that makes sense. So I don't view it as this either or. culture, you're going to get some type of system of ethics and morality. And so that's the kind of scheme that I draw. That's the map that it would look like. So I think I'm kind of in the middle ground then, that concepts of good and bad will be culturally dependent, but you're going to have some type of conception of good or bad. Someone else asks, thoughts on work in relation to one's happiness and identity. Oh yeah, I think work can be incredibly fulfilling because some of it, they're wearing anti-aging products as children. God, I don't know. I just know that we all want to be desired, and we don't want to be cast out, and we want to be of use, and we want to be valued. I think because I find older people attractive. I think older women are beautiful. When I think about aging, death scares me. Losing independence scares me. But the physical part of looking different doesn't freak me out, because I can take, if I know I'm attracted to that and I think that's beautiful, I am going to look beautiful when I'm that age. Like, yeah, I can't wait. Like, I can't wait. But like, when I'm there, I hope I have that confidence, and I hope I remember, like, hey, you liked people who were that age. Like, you still belong. People will still want to get to know you and value your opinion. I think people are terrified of becoming invisible, because we can treat older people like they're invisible, but they're not invisible to me because of my various attractions and my kind of like woo-woo feminist POV, where I'm like, I want like long gray hair. I want to be a wild woman when I'm old. So I don't know. I find that archetype of like the older woman, the like wise woman, quite aspirational. So I think that's helped my mindset a lot. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna go down with that trend, but I've noticed it, like small children in Sephora buying retinol. Anyway, thank you for that question. That could be its own video for sure. This question asks, do you think AI could ever be used in criminal trials? We have handwriting experts and polygraph tests. Digital messages can be used as evidence, but what about people's interactions with AI chatbots? Surely one's mannerisms through chats could be matched like fingerprints on a database one day. What do you think? Ignoring, of course, the whole deepfake situation, though I'd be intrigued to hear your opinion on that too. I think 1,000% AI will be used in criminal trials. It will have to be. I think everyone's activity on AI chatbots, I think AI is just going to have to be 100,000,000% regulated. It will be. And our legal system, I think, is very behind. It's going to have to catch up. So, yeah, I do think that it's going to have to be used in criminal trials. And I think the way that what you say to a chatbot will be like what you say to a therapist. And I think if you cross a line, it's going to have to be zipped to the authorities. I have pretty deep fears for privacy, and I'm one of those people, I believe that at some point we're going to have to get, like, it'll be part of our society to become verified as, like, a human being, and have digital communication verified as human. I just believe that verification is going to be like a major feature of life, both physically and digitally, within 15 years easy. That's what I think. This topic does deserve a broader consideration though, because it's so big. But thank you for your question. Okay, it's the last section of the video. How are you doing? Are you okay? Are you relaxing? I hope you are relaxing and that you are resting. Relaxing. But this is the fun section of the video. This is the fun section, so I'll try not to have too much fun if you're resting. But the first two questions: if you could temporarily time travel to any time period without risk of safety, where and when would you single day in the past. What year would you pick? This is so hard because my first thought is the World's Fair, the first one. My second thought is just, I remember watching this video of these people sat around listening to the human voice recording for the first time and being able to like record themselves with their speech, and they all gave toasts. Something like that, where you get to witness the dawn of inventions that are now antiquated, but are the grandfathers of our iPhones and whatever. But also to visit Ann Leister at home is a tempting offer. I could waste my life thinking about this question. I'm going to choose Ann Leister. I'm going to Halifax, England. Could a hot dog be considered a sandwich? Absolutely not. Some people consider a hot dog a sandwich, but in that case, where do we draw the line and set boundaries here? I completely agree with you. It's highly inappropriate. A hot dog is a hot dog, and a sandwich is a sandwich. I would consider a hot dog to be like a lobster roll. Like a lobster roll is not a sandwich, it's a lobster roll. Charlie, ASMR Paperback Boy, did ask, when do I jump on a train and drink 300 coffees with you? To which I replied something like immediately. So, immediately, please. Speaking of coffee, somebody else asked, you drink a lot of coffee, but what is your approach towards tea? My approach is generous. I generously approach with arms wide open. I love fennel tea, and I like licorice tea. Ooh. Oh yes, my approach is no sugar, no cream, give me the tea. Someone says cat person or dog person or both. Whichever needs me, whichever animal needs me. I am the cat person or the dog person. I'm the needy animal person. Yeah, whichever one needs me the most, but in general, I think because I see dogs out in the world more, yes, but when I see like a cat in the window, I'm like, hello. Have you had any experiences with ghosts? I only saw one time on the side of the road a pair of pants that like the lower half of a person, but I don't know if it was a ghost. So other than that, no. So I'll probably have to say that no. I've never looked up and seen something like a ghost, and I hope I never do. Someone else asked, what would you name your ship? And I would name it Guzapo, because there was a cat, an outdoor cat, that used to come around when I lived in Texas, and I named him Guzapo. And I think he had Down syndrome. He looked very different than other cats. He was so sweet, and he would sit on my lap, and he would drool, and I would pet him, and I would scrunch his little fur, and I would scrunch his little face, and he would just drool in heaven, and he would purr. I loved him. His name was Guzapo. He has a special place in my heart even today, and I would name my ship after him, Guzapo. Would you rather never or only ever drink coffee again versus water? I choose the water because I'm trying to live and be free. Versus any other drink besides water, I will choose the coffee because I love coffee, and it allows my personality to shine like a star in the sky. So, coffee. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? If you don't like it, quit. Yeah. my mom and dad used to say, if you don't, you've tried it, if you've really given it a shot, you don't like it, you don't have to do it. I've taken that with me far in life. Another question, do you wear wigs? No. What keeps you up at night? Genuinely, the thought of other people suffering. I'll cry. I cry thinking about other people. Like in history, like women in history. Oh, I cry. If you could learn any language, human or other, which would it be? Trees. I really would want to know. They've been around so long. But, also dogs. Do you think someone is keeping score? I hope not. Are you? You better not be. What is the optimal pasta shape, in your opinion? Thank you for asking me about pasta shapes. I love pasta. It's one of my favorite foods. Penne pasta. Oh, the tube. Give me the tube. Penne. What is your favorite dance move that you can do? And what's your favorite dance move you cannot do? Fascinating. My favorite dance move that I can do, I will say first, foremost, I don't do moves. I flow with the music. I move my body through space and time. I become a work of art. But if I am going to reach off the shelf for a prepackaged move, which I would never do, it would be one of those. And a favorite dance move that I cannot do, any one of those people who look like they're floating in the air. Any move that looks like your feet are not touching the ground. Someone says, what isn't a coffee flavor that should be? Example, the feeling of having a full phone battery, catching an empty train, looking out of an airplane window, or coconut and black sesame. Those are beautiful examples. Like, stunning. Coconut and black sesame coffee. You must be a chef. I don't know who asked this question, but you're a creative person. My first answer is Twin Peaks. I would want a coffee that tastes like cold pine trees and a detective. My second answer is licorice coffee. I would love a black licorice coffee. That would make my day. Someone else asked, you are literally changing my brain for the better. What other cults do you lead? Yeah, I will say the cult of the inner image, the cult of surrender, and the cult of the erotic world. I lead those as well. I'm very busy. Someone else asks, a best hangover cure, coffee and a full breakfast. Easy. Someone else asked, how did you get to be so cool? Thank you for that question. I was addicted to pizza rolls and Naruto as a teenager. That will do it. That'll make anyone sincere enough, I think, to be cool. Someone else says, I love a good mystery. What's your favorite? My favorite mystery is how we evolved to be this like hyper self-aware culture makers, so different than other creatures on Earth. How did we do this? It's a mystery. I don't know. Someone else asked, what is the worst advice someone has ever given you? An old boss of mine told me that I shouldn't waste my potential by quitting, that I should stay there and I should keep